Hi, I'm Larry Nelson, an instrument-rated private pilot with a passion for aviation. I built what I think is the perfect aircraft for my mission, exploring my home state of Arizona and beyond while taking you along for the ride. I also want to showcase affordable aviation and show the incredible capability of these light airplanes. Follow me along in my aviation journey. This is Zenvair Pilot.
All right, so today, everybody, GRT got to me and they wanted me to take you guys up on a flight and kind of explain to you how to use these avionics. So before I get into that, I need to kind of explain what I have and how everything's configured as I'm waiting for the engine to warm up for the run-up. So what I've got here is I've got the Sport EX here. This is, again, a 7-inch display. This one's got all the options, touch screen, etc. So we have a lot of options on this screen here. This is the mini EFIS. This one is the new Gen 3. I believe it's Gen 3. These two are communicating together, so anything I do on this screen will be reflected on this screen. For the purposes of this flight, I've left off the GPS 175, so none of the data that we're getting is going to be coming from this. Everything we're doing is innately to the GRT system. Over here, I've got the two SL30 radios, and then I've got the digital engine monitor. Now, for my own use, I've also got this guy. This is a Innovate air-fuel ratio monitor, so when I lean, I'm actually using air-fuel ratio. I'm not using EGT the same way that most people are. I'm using EGT to monitor performance of the engine, but as far as leaning goes, I've got the air-fuel ratio meter here. Now, how everything connects. So I do have the 2-axis autopilot in the back that communicates directly to the Sport EX on one serial port. These two are connected on a serial port, and these two are connected on a serial port. This guy here, the GPS 175, has an R-Link module.
Only 17 departing to the south.
So the GPS 175 has an R-Link module. What that does is this is taking a specific type of signal, which is R-Link, going to that module, then that's converting it to serial data, which is then sending it over to here so that we can see all the presentations. Again, for the purpose of this flight, I am not using the GPS 175. We are using the onboard GPS. So that I'll show you guys since still waiting for this thing to warm up. Actually, just about ready to warm up, so let's time to do the run-up. So, controls free and correct. Up, yours, up, mine, up and down. Everything is looking correct. Trim is set. All right, up to 2,000 RPMs. Okay, 2,000 RPMs is set. First, I'm going to do ignition A to ignition, or we're on ignition B right now. I'm saying that we have fuel pressure correct. RPMs look good. A to B change. No change from A to B. Fuel pressure looks good. We're going to sit there for a minute. Next, carb heat check. What I should see is a decrease in air-fuel ratio, which I'm seeing. Decrease in RPM. Both occur. Back to full power, and again I let it run for another minute just to check everything. Oil pressure wants to look good. Fuel pressure, all volts look good. Throttling back. Idle, and again checklist. So engine operation and temperatures were correct for the run-up. Oil pressure looked good, fuel pressure looked good. CHTs were above 200 as expected. We checked the ignition from the A to the B. No change as indicated. Carb heat gave me the correct indication. So we turned to idle, set ignition to A. Trim is set for takeoff canopy. Controls are locked and latched. Double check the latch. There we go. Check the latch. And double latch, so we got all the hooks there. Altimeter and radio are set. We do have altimeter and radio are set. And fuel is on the correct fullest tank. That we are ready for takeoff. Summerton traffic experimental 918 Lima, November, taking off runway 17 Summerton. Okay, clear final, clear on final. Okay, one last check up to 2,000 RPM. Release the brake.
Obstacle.
All gauges are in the green.
Summerton traffic, terminal evening, remember, left crosswind departure to the northwest, call Summerton.
All right, so for today's flight, like I said, I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit about the avionics systems, how to use them, some things you may not have a chance to use before. So with that, I'm going to climb up. We're going to get out of this airspace. We're going to climb up to 2,000 feet and show you a couple things on these avionics. Trim is up. Autopilot on. I'm going to go heading and altitude. So what I've done here is I've set my heading bug, so 290. So I'm going to get back onto my heading. So right now, on a track level here, what I'm doing is I'm using this basically as a flight director. And I've done this heading and altitude. So what this will do is this is just going to fly whatever track I select up to the altitude I've selected, which in this case is 2,000 feet. So we can also change some things in here. We can change this to a flight director view. That's one way of doing it. We do indicated airspeed. We can also change this to vertical speed. So I've got vertical speed here. So here we go. We're just again climbing on that heading here up to 2,000 feet. I do have the ability to do a couple other things which are pretty cool, but we'll do that here in just a few minutes. So change to vertical speed, and we're going to make this 400 feet per minute. So now instead of it trying to track 500 feet per minute, we're tracking 400 feet per minute as our kind of cruise climb. The other thing you get here is you get a heading and a track. So you notice that my heading, in this case is 344, which is actually about here, but my ground track is 003. So it allows me to more precisely tune exactly where we're going. So here we go, it's leveling me off. As we level off, it's going to call for me to take some trim out. Pull power off here. Maintain that RPM I'm looking for. And we're going to lean this thing out to 12 to 1. There we go. We have the vertical autopilot. Climbed up to the altitude we were looking for. And now we got the flight director basically showing us how to do it. And see, is wanting me to put a little more down trim in. And this is what this is for, is you can use that to set a heading. You notice I'm 355, 340 on the select heading. Actually, track is 355. Heading is over here at 344. So I select the heading, I get the green line to kind of show me that heading here. This is the heading, that's the track here on that indication. So you get both those things together. It's kind of a really good way to watch everything. Okay, so now we're up here, and let's say that I need to find a frequency. So I can come here to the map page, and let's say I need to look at Yuma. So in this case, make a couple turns. I've got Yuma. Push the button again. Now I've brought up all of the Yuma information. So I do know, looking at this, that CTAP is 119.3. I can hit the frequency button, and I can say set comm. Now from this, I'm just going to get the ATIS right now. So ATIS is 118.8. I can hit select. 118.8 shows up over here, and then I'm able to then pick up that information. And I'll set the nav. You notice that nav is 108.3. I can set nav 1, 108.3 puts in, select it over. Now that is what I've got selected. So very easy as far as if you've got an SL30 protocol radio in there to set your frequencies across. This also gives you the ADSB information. So what I didn't mention earlier in all of this is I've also got the SafeFly 2020 in here. So with that is an Echo UAT. So it gives me both in and out capability in the EPIS. So what that allows me to do is pick up weather. So you notice here the temperature is 23 C or 75 degrees.
2118, descend and maintain 6,000.
I got my dew point is 7, altimeter 29 or 78, wind visibility, all of that is there. So now I can back this out, back over to my PFD. So it gives you a lot of capability just right there in those screens to set frequencies, find frequencies, basically do all that type of information that you would like right there. So some of you may be wondering why my audio alerts don't sound like the ones from GRT, and there's a very good reason for that. That is, within GRT, you can actually put in your own audio. So what I did was I went and created brand new WAV files, and I use those WAV files to get me that audio that I was actually wanting. So instead of it sounding like that robotic voice that it comes with, I changed it out for kind of a female voice. To me, just a lot easier to understand when you're in the air. Now, the other thing that you can do with this is called a synthetic approach. But to do that, we got to set up a flight plan. So I'm going to turn out here a little bit, just because there's a lot more room, and I can kind of set this up on the cruise, basically on autopilot, while I set up my flight plan. So on the map page, you scroll across, you go next, you got your flight plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add, we're going to go BZA, which is the BARD VOR. So BARD VORTAC, we're going to go enter that. And from there, we're going to add K, L, G, F. Laguna Army Airfield. I'm going to go enter that. So now I got my flight plan. What I want to do now is, you notice I can do here. Got my flight plan in here. It's going like this. I need to change my autopilot. So we're going to come back to the PFD. We're now going to push this button, and instead of it just being heading, we're going to go ENAV. What that should do is make a turn back towards the BARD VOR. So now that we've done that, let's set up.
Traffic.
Yes, the 7,500 feet above me. I see him. Flight plan. We're going to back to sequence mode. And you notice here we got Laguna. What we're going to do now is on the PFD, and I'm hoping you guys can see this, just because of the way the sun is right now. What I'm going to do next is we're going to arm a synthetic approach.
Adjust trim.
So what we can do is we're going to arm the synthetic approach for runway 6. So I've entered that. I'm going to acknowledge I have the correct, and I'm going to execute it. What that'll do, and we should be able to do it here in just a minute, is we're going to fly to the BARD VOR. Once we cross over that, we're going to keep an altitude until we intersect on this altitude basically the descent angle for Laguna Army Airfield. I'm not going to go there today because it is a military airfield and I'm not talking to them. But what that'll allow me to do is to show you guys how that synthetic approach actually works and what it looks like. Where it's really handy is if you're flying to a place you've never been before, what you're able to do is set that up for the runway you're looking for, and it'll help you guide you to that runway. And it's kind of helpful, especially like I said, if you're not familiar with an area. What it does is if you program it incorrectly, you get a 3-degree glide slope down to the runway. And again, just based on the runway you select. So again, we're going to right now direct to the BARD VOR. So this is again using just the internal GPS from the GPS 175, or sorry, from the Sport EX right now.
Waypoint.
So we're going to fly through that waypoint, and we should be intersecting the...
Delta 21 radar contact 3 west of Imperial VOR 7500, U altimeter 2979.
All right, now we're on that synthetic approach, and as soon as we intersect what would be that synthetic approach, it'll start directing us downwards and give us a box to fly through. So if you look over here, there's the synthetic approach line. So let's do this. I'm going to turn autopilot away.
Autopilot disconnect.
And we're going to turn this way, and we're going to intersect that line. So now we're going to intersect the line at a 45-degree angle, again, maintaining 2,000 feet. We're going to intersect that line, and it should bring us onto that synthetic approach, so it'll say SAP captured at that point. So that's the other thing, is you can't just fly the needle over there. At some point you go, okay, I need to break off my approach, the way I've got it, and go direct to that synthetic approach. And here I've got it less than a 45-degree angle, so with the synthetic approach, you do have to approach with the autopilot at less than a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to approach it, we'll re-engage the autopilot once it grabs that line, and we'll follow it down for just a little bit until I get close to that airspace, and we'll break it off. Alright, synthetic approach captured. Now we're going to go back to autopilot. We're going to go nav and altitude. This should, again, put us right on that synthetic approach. So you see the boxes coming in. It'll basically fly us right down those boxes since we've captured that synthetic approach. So again, really handy if you've never been to an airport before. You're able to set up that synthetic approach. And again, I'm going to break this off before we get into that airspace. But what you'll notice is now we've got that approach. We're flying through these boxes. We got the airport right off our nose, 2,000 feet. And as soon as we would be needing to make a descent, it would guide us on that descent, in this case on a 3-degree glide slope. This right here is telling you your feet above the ground, so that's also how you're going to get your altitude callouts. Alright, so now we can turn kind of inbound towards that, towards the approach again. And you'll see that balloon here, and we got this little circle. That circle is giving us that indication of where the airfield is. So we have that first indication. I see the airfield in front of me. Now I want to intersect again that synthetic approach. Once we intercept it, then we'll fly the procedure, which in this case is just flying that 3-degree glide slope. So let's get on aux radio.
Aux traffic experimental 918 Lima November is over the city of Somerton. Going to be flying straight in to a missed approach runway 17 aux.
Alright, so we got that. We've got it all set up.
Traffic.
And I'm going to go nav and altitude. And it's going to grab that that synthetic approach. So you see we got a synthetic approach arm, synthetic approach captured. That's just to trim down.
Traffic.
Going to descend big time right here. My Gulf is way above me. Okay, so here we go. It is capturing that approach. And do we have boxes coming in? We do.
Adjust trim.
You see the boxes coming in. It wants us to trim down. I'm going to do that by throttling back and turning on the carburetor heat. So I want to slow it down. So there's our boxes giving us the highway in the sky down to that point. You see we got the airfield right in front of us. I can see the airfield in front of us, which is nice. And again, we got that synthetic approach going, so let me
adjust trim.
Slow it down again. So if I was flying this for real again, if I didn't know where the airfield was, this would give me a great opportunity to put in this synthetic approach and then fly the procedure. Trying to get us right in the middle there. Yeah, again, the whole thing will just track all the way down. So if you see, we're just making a gentle 3-degree approach.
Oxford traffic experimental 918 Lima November 2 miles to the north, overflying runway 17 Oxford.
Again, just flying us a nice gentle, and like I said, if it was an airport you'd never been to before, you'd be able to kind of, on the autopilot, fly this all the way down to where you feel comfortable. And it does make altitude call out, so it should call out 500 feet here in just a minute. And again, not perfect. You see I'm off to the side a little bit, but you know what? If I was in an emergency, airport didn't have an approach, I've got a way to get down. 50 feet till the first call out.
Trying 500.
There's the 500-foot call out. All right, we are definitely going to just stay missed. He goes, yep. Ignore that and go around. And you see there we have the airfield kind of also drawn out for us.
Oxford traffic, Terminal 8, Lima November, flying runway 17, departing north, last call.
So again, there's a nice, easy synthetic approach. So for those of you who, again, you don't want to fly an instrument, but that gives you kind of a really good way of, if you need to get down, you need to find an airport, you've got that as something in your tool bag. Now for VOR navigation, I'm going to show this to you. I'm turning this on to the VOR source, and we're going to crank this over so I'm going to set this to a... So here we go, like if I was going to need to intercept that radial, which is the 194 radial, or in this case, it's not the radial, this is the reciprocal of that. This would be not the radial, but anyways, see that we're able to just add very easily track towards that airway and kind of lift to it. So again, turning right towards it, this acts more like a HSI CDI, so get a very good indication. I can set my heading to that bug right there and like, okay, there we go, we'll just fly right to that point. Increase my angle to it. I'm climbing back up to 2,000. Start bunting this over. And there we go, we'll be intercepting this in just a minute. And I would turn inbound at this point, and then we'd be again tracking that VOR radial. All right, so there's a couple things there. We got synthetic approach. We have the ability to use, again, different types of technology for navigation. We can use VOR, we can use synthetic approaches. We can do all kinds of things to really give us that good situational awareness that we expect to have in today's modern avionics systems.
Terminal traffic, Terminal 8, Lima November, lift base runway 17, full stop, Somerton. Terminal traffic, Terminal 8, Lima November, final runway 17, full stop, Somerton.
Obstacle.
Those birds are fun.
Obstacle.